Today I'm going to talk about puppetry. So, this is interesting. I freaking love puppets, okay? I was a professional puppeteer for a while. I'll talk about my own story. I just love puppets. There's 3 of them in my room. Maybe I'll grab them and show them to you. Yeah, why don't I do that right now, actually? 1 second. So, in some of the movies that I make, we use puppets a lot. And so I have a lot of puppets, and then we use, like, big puppet, costumes and stuff. And I'll talk about the history of puppeteering and everything, but there's just something about this. This is a guy. This is a puppet we used in a movie. He was actually a deadly assassin, and these are his 2 cronies. But anyway, the cool thing about puppetry is that it was thought to have originated at least, and maybe further, but at least 4,500 years ago in the Indus Valley civilization. I'm going to make a video about the Indus Valley civilization someday, by the way, because it's so fascinating. And the Chinese shadow theater, you know, that maybe a lot of you have heard of, goes all the way back to 3,000 years ago. So this is just like fascinating stuff. In Egypt, it's thought that this, like, some historians think that puppetry actually predates actors in the theater. In Egypt, we found string-operated wooden figures that would knead bread. There was also wired, controlled, articulated puppets of clay and ivory that were in the Egyptian tombs, which, if you know ancient Egypt, you know that what they put in their tombs was really, 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 really important to them. Ancient Greece from the 5th century BCE and other parts of Europe, Africa, Japan, Southeast Asia, India, and even North America around at least as far back as 600 AD, there have been puppets. Puppets! For some reason, humans love to make puppets and use puppets. And I think that there's this kind of psychological thing, right? Where there's this degree of separation where I can be creative through this separate individual here. And he can just do his own thing, you know? Like, he can be kind of a weird guy. And I'm over here. This is me making all the noise and everything. But he's living right here. And I can kind of project this self over here. If you ever want to have a good time, watch puppeteers as they're puppeting their puppets, their expressions and their faces, the things that they do as they puppet them. It's amazing. And maybe you hate puppets, and I'm super nerdy about it, and I own that, and I freaking love puppets. Like I said, I was a professional puppeteer at a public library for a long time, and I kind of came to love puppets during a class at a theater camp, actually, that I was a counselor at. I do that every summer. I'm an instructor now myself, but they had a puppetry class, and I was just obsessed with the creation of the puppets. I love making stuff with my hands and then using those hands to become things. I don't know, it's just weird. It's like this, it just got me, you know? It was my hyperfixation for a while, and I can't really describe the feeling, but you have felt that way about stuff too. I know you have. Something that just captures your attention and your imagination. So I want to talk about puppets in film. Because that's kind of like, I love puppets, I love the history of puppets, but puppetry in film is really fascinating. And of course that means I need to talk about Jim Henson. Because Jim Henson is the guy who essentially, like, really, 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 really established that. You know, if you've obviously seen his work in Labyrinth, and you've seen his work in Dark Crystal and the new series on Netflix. And, ooh, that series is so good because they really, really tried to be, like, authentically connected to the source material, and they created everything by hand and really did it. It's just a beautiful, masterful piece of work. And maybe it's not your thing. A lot of people have like a fear of puppets. A lot of them as kids had you know, there's that uncanny valley thing, which we'll make a video about. And I should write that in my book so I don't forget uncanny valley. But yeah, I had a fear like that too when I was a child. I don't know why I did. And I think it's connected to perhaps an event that we'll talk about in a video, because I have a theory that maybe I was abducted by fairies. But Fraggle Rock is the one that freaked me out. I didn't even watch it. It was just the trailer for it. So, Jim Henson, I watched a documentary on him one time. An amazing individual. Just like, you know, no one's all good or all bad, but kind of the creativity and imagination he brought to the world was just amazing. And somebody said in the documentary that Jim Henson sort of opened a door in the universe that had previously been closed, and like introduced us to this other world. And I'm obsessed with that. I think that there's creators throughout history that have done things like that. And I've often thought about, like, what's the door I'm trying to open in the universe, right, for people, and what am I bringing into reality through the creative energy that I've been given in the time on Earth that I'm briefly here. And it's just fascinating to me. I just realized I'm talking really, really, really fast. I probably have done that in a lot of videos. I might need to tune that down and slow it down a little bit. I talk really, really fast when I'm excited about stuff. because I'm trying to match the speed at which my brain processes information, and it's often too fast, and if so, I apologize. But also, some people watch YouTube videos at 2x speed, so maybe you won't have to if that's what you do for my videos. But I will maybe try to take a little bit more space as I'm explaining this stuff. One of the things I want to talk about is one time I was watching the original Star Wars. I was watching Yoda and the performance of Yoda by Frank Oz, you know, a friend of Jim Henson. And it was just this amazing moment when I was watching that thing that, you know, it made of silicone and paint and latex, and it's just this object, but it had this soul to it. Like the acting, and my friend commented on this, the acting that was coming through that puppet was amazing. And that this performer was able to just create such like this real, like that thing was interacting with Luke in that scene. And like, obviously it was impactful because look what it spawned and created over the years. Like, we still make practical effects because of that performance, because of what they achieved, you know? And I think that that was incredible. And, you know, then we have Grogu, who is actually a puppet, isn't CGI, to kind of also maybe make some of those connections as well, and we just see the practical renaissance in Star Wars and in movies because people love things that are real. Nothing against CGI, it has its place, but I love practical effects. I might make a whole video on practical effects and talk about the history of those because I love them. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to talk about puppetry, and I wanted to talk about the effect that it has had. It's something I think is really, really, really cool, and I never knew I loved until somebody just made a freaking class about it and invited me to the class, and they're like, I made this puppet, I made that puppet, and it was just like incredible. It was amazing. And yeah, some of the puppets we made for our movies, you know, we have a big Minotaur head that spoke. We have small hand puppets like these ones, and it's mostly for the comedy of the setting we were going for. But it was so fun to just create, you know, the craftsmanship kind of creating the skeleton and the design underneath. I wish I had a time lapse of it, but some of these, you know, performances that we could do, like this guy, again, was an assassin. He was a cold-blooded killer, but he was also a cute fuzzy puppet, and that was kind of the fun of, you know, creating these things. And actually my little brother was the performer who did this one, and we just had such a good time. So anyway, yes, puppets are amazing. They are incredible. I am Levi over here. This guy is watching the screen down below, which is often how puppet performers work. So the puppet is talking to the camera and creating this bond. And I don't have the hand thing right now to use. I should have grabbed that. But he's watching the camera, and so if he starts to disappear, it's just me, baby. I'm just doing my thing over here. And he's performing. I don't know why I chose that voice. His voice was in the movie was more like, oh, this sort of thing, because he was an assassin. But anyway, yeah, it's probably one of the nerdiest videos I'll ever make in my entire life, and I don't care because puppets are really, really cool. Barnaby Dixon is an inspiration to me. I will just shout out his channel. There's no connection between us. I've never even met him, and you know, there's no connection there. But like, I just love seeing people who are passionate about things, and he has made some like incredible innovations in puppetry to the point where they actually hired him to help out with the new Dark Crystal. And I just love everything about that production and the craftsmanship and the storytelling behind it, and the art by Brian Froud, who we might talk about in another video. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. And maybe you like puppets, maybe they freak you out, maybe you need to give them another chance. But puppetry's cool, and I'll probably keep making puppets and using puppets till the day I'm dead. Anyway, that was all. That's it. That's done. That's what's up.